or thank you for recording. The webinar is being recorded, will be available to everyone. So hello everyone, and welcome to Warning Letter Wednesday, as today is Wednesday. I'm Ligia Zubik, and I'm facilitating this webinar. So again, today's topic is how to prevent FDA warning letters. And throughout this session, feel free to send your questions in the chat. We will answer the questions live or through the chat during the Q&A session or after the webinar. Oh, first of all, I want to make sure everybody can hear me well. Yes, okay, very good. And again, welcome. Welcome on Wednesday. Next slide. Thank you. So we joined today by previous panelists. Some of you, I see the familiar faces. Thank you for joining. We are joined today also by a new panelist. So first of all, Bill Levinson. He is a published writer. He is ASQ, American Society for Quality Chair, and principal of Levinson Productivity System. He brings decades of expertise in quality and most of all productivity improvement. So thank you, Bill, for joining us. Next, our Dan Barreto, former FDA investigator and advisor to Global Key Solutions. Thank you as well, Dan, for joining. I'm Ligia Zubik, a certified GMP lead auditor with over 20 years experience in biopharma. So today, Bill Levinson will walk us through how to prevent Federal Drug Administration warning letters with a focus on critical links between corrective and preventive action, root cause analysis, failure mode analysis. So again, thank you, Bill. And here we are on this warning letter webinar that is always hosted by Global Key Solutions Corporation. So thanks goes to GKS for sponsoring this event. Our additional panelists are actually from Global Key Solution. We welcome Global Key Solution founders, George Kwizinski, CEO and founder, and Zev Odidika, COO and founder of Global Key Solution. So just to share with you a little bit logistics, immediately after Bill GMP session, we will provide a brief technical overview of Global Key Solution e-library data intelligence platform. So Zev will later take us through the specific business cases, so stay to the end. So now you probably wonder why at the end of summer we brought out this topic. So first of all, Warning Letter Wednesday are related to Federal Drug Administration message and focus. And to answer the question, why this topic, again, I will invite Dan Barreto. Dan will provide a brief introduction to this session, to this topic. So now I will pass to Dan, so we're more familiar why we're talking about this topic again.
Cool. Thank you, Ligia. Obviously, as we have discussed in the past, if you or when you get an FDA inspection, obviously there will be some expected outcomes that will take place. So I wanted to take you briefly as an intro to the great presentation that Bill is going to do for us this morning. I wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of a process life cycle of what really happens when you get the FDA inspection and how, in general, as a roadmap, there are certain things that need to happen for you to prevent getting a warning letter, which is the main topic. So you get your FDA inspection. Two things are going to happen immediately. Either you get a 483 or you don't. And for the most part, when you don't, then there's nothing you need to do other than basically analyze and assess, okay, the inspection went well. Is the inspection actually a reflection of how good we are? Because sometimes even when companies don't get a 483, that doesn't necessarily mean that the company is actually in good shape. It only means that the FDA inspector or investigators that were present did not detect the issues. But either way, if you conclude that, we didn't get a 483 because we are really that good, then just make sure that you prepare for your routine reinspection in the future. The truth is that more than likely you're going to get a 483 because the truth is that most companies do have what I call opportunities and challenges that lead them to getting a 483. Now, if you do get a 483, two things are going to happen immediately. Either you put together an adequate response or you don't. And to put an adequate response, that means that you will have to have had a very good understanding of what were the concerns from the inspector, and then how your response is going to address the concerns from the inspector. That means you explain, you propose corrective actions. Those corrective actions indicate that you understood the concerns from the agency. And then if the agency deems your response to be adequate, then your inspection is going to be classified as it's called VAI, which means voluntary action indicated. And of course, then that means that in the future, you're going to get a routine reinspection. Now, if you did not provide an adequate response, then you've got a problem now, because that means that there is 100% probability that you're going to get a warning letter. And when you submit an inadequate response, a couple of things will be reflected there. One is you did not understand what the FDA 483 was all about, one. Or second, you understood and you didn't care, which, by the way, it's something that is really unacceptable, because that, obviously, if you don't care, you're going to get the warning letter no matter what. So either way, if you have an inadequate response, you're going to get a warning letter, which, by the way, will require now for you to submit another response to the agency. And this time, you better make sure that your response is adequate, because if it's not, then you're going to get the agency to take further actions against the company. But if you do, if that response is adequate, then obviously you're gonna be classified as VAI, and then you're gonna have a follow-up to your inspection. But if you didn't respond very well, you're gonna get a classification that's gonna be called OAI, which means official action indicated. And that means now that submissions that you are making for new products, they will not be approved. That means that if you are exporting product to the United States, your products are going to be blacklisted. So this is really important. And what I want to say now is that pay attention to what Bill is going to say, because he's going to help you to maneuver through this scheme so that you can make yourself be on the right side of this roadmap and not on the left side of it. So thank you, Ligia. Put the information back to you.
Thank you, Dan. That's very helpful. Yes, we have to remember VAI, OAI, ICE, and now Bill will take us through this topic. So thank you, Bill. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, and thank you for coming. I'm going to start off with some information here. A very large proportion of warning letters arise from failure to take corrective and preventive action, or to verify the effectiveness of actions taken. I'm going to give a very brief overview of advanced quality planning, which is a proactive way to plan quality into the process and keep trouble from happening at all. If done properly, this and the strong CAPA process should prevent trouble from reaching even the Form 483 level. Next slide. Advanced quality planning is a systematic approach for planning quality into a product or processes. I don't have time here to go into failure mode effects analysis in detail. Let's just say it's an extremely important process. Hopefully we can do it in the future presentation. FMEA is one of the ways in which a pharmaceutical company can do proactive risk analysis, identify risks, mitigate or eliminate risks. It's mandatory in automotive. And something I noticed is it doesn't seem to get as much attention in pharmaceutical as it should. And apparently it's not mandatory, although the FDA does recommend it as one approach. Okay, the control plan is a key deliverable of the process FMEA. Okay, next slide. FMEA is a proactive quality planning process that seeks to determine for each process step what can go wrong, the failure mode, such as adding the wrong ingredient to your product, why it goes wrong. This was previously known as the failure mechanism. Now it's called the failure cause, and the latest reference from this, which is from the Automotive Industry Action Group and its German counterpart, the VDA, published in 2019. What happens if it goes wrong, the failure effect, what controls are in place to prevent or detect the failure, and this is in the control plan. Next slide. Severity rating. This is probably going to be 9 or 10 for anything related to the FDA because it affects customer safety and regulatory compliance. So we're generally going to be dealing with 9 or 10 severity ratings for failure modes. The occurrence rating is based on the nature of the prevention controls that disable the occurrence root cause of the failure. The detection rating is based on the nature of the detection controls that disable the escape root cause, which is the reason the nonconformances can advance to the next internal or external customer, assuming that they do. Okay, example of prevention control. Nestle's Spike Right. There was an issue with nurses connecting enteric feeding systems to intravenous lines, which is of course likely to kill the patient, and telling people to be careful doesn't work, because if you do the job, let's say there's a 1 in 10,000 chance of doing it wrong, and you do the job 10,000 times, there is a good chance that somebody is going to die as a result. The Spike Right connection system makes it physically impossible to connect an enteric food container to an intravenous line. Detection control doesn't keep defects from getting into the product, but it detects them before they can get to the next internal or external customer. Next slide. Administrative controls, and I mentioned telling people to be careful with the enteric feeding tubes is not acceptable. So a key takeaway here is if your process or training tells people to be careful not to do something, that itself questions should be asked as to whether it's possible for them to do it the wrong way, and some type of control has to be put in to make it impossible. Okay, next slide. There is a connection between FMEA and corrective and preventive action because CAPA root cause analysis seeks to identify, where applicable, 3 root causes. The occurrence root cause, which is the most familiar to most people in root cause analysis, is why the failure happened. And this relates directly to inadequate or missing prevention controls. The escape root cause is why the problem reached the next process or customer, which relates to inadequate or missing detection controls such as outgoing tests and inspections. The systemic root cause is why it wasn't anticipated in advance. Note that failure mode effects analysis is almost like proactive CAPA, because we look at the failure mode and we don't know that it's ever happened, but we pretend that it happened, and we look at what kind of controls need to be put into place to make sure it doesn't. So it's almost, so FMEA is almost like CAPA in advance. Okay, next slide. Inadequate CAPA is a leading trouble source. It's these are some older references, but this is still consistent with what I've seen for FDA warning letters. I went to the FDA's database and looked, and I see corrective and preventive action is all over the place as being cited in warning letters. So the FDA group says you got a total of 43% at least related to inadequate corrective and preventive actions, noting that if you have a complaint or non-conforming product, both of those should initiate corrective and preventive actions. There's another reference, shows a Pareto analysis in which complaints are found to be the leading trouble source, followed by CAPA, except again, if you have complaints, those should result in CAPA. Next slide. CAPA is mandatory. This is from the Code of Federal Regulations. It says manufacturers shall establish and maintain procedures for implementing corrective and preventive action, and the rest of the details are available on their website. It also says the activities and their results shall be documented. There's a saying that if it isn't written down, it didn't happen. So you have to document the activities. Next slide. Back up a couple. Establish and maintain procedures. The Automotive Industry Action Group's CQI 20 effective problem solving is, as far as I know, the best CAPA process in existence. It's based on the 8D process, which was at the time the best process in existence, definitely superior to Six Sigma DMAIC as far as I know. Even though it's designed for the automotive industry, it will work on just about anything, and it delivers excellent results. It corrects the problem, it prevents recurrence, and it generates organizational knowledge applicable to similar processes. Next slide. How it works, and this is an extremely brief overview. I recommend purchasing the manual. Anything from AIAG tends to be expensive, but I found it to be a good investment myself because these, as far as I know, are some of the best references in existence. Here's how it works. Awareness of the problem can result from a 483 or even worse, a warning letter. The FDA's guidance for industry adds complaints. Remember, I mentioned complaints should result in corrective and preventive action, and these other things that are listed here, product rejections, audits, can include internal audits, by the way, and the other things listed. Also, look to your workers. Workers should be able to initiate corrective and preventive action if they see a potential quality problem. Now, in safety, they have worker-initiated corrective action for safety problems called near-miss reports. The Japanese call them Hayari Hato, which is experience of almost accident situations. It means someone almost got hurt, or they saw something that could hurt somebody, they report it, and then the problem is corrected before it can actually harm somebody. Similarly, let's say a worker finds they're about to add the wrong ingredient to a batch reactor. They say, hey, I almost added the wrong ingredient. That means it's possible to add the wrong ingredient. So the worker would initiate corrective and preventive action to make sure that that mistake becomes impossible. Next slide. Use a cross-functional team. Now, this is not necessary if the problem and its solution are obvious, can be resolved by the process owner, and very importantly, doesn't involve management of change issues, because whenever you change a process factor, that carries risks with it in of itself. And I believe I saw an FDA warning letter where somebody changed something, they didn't go through the MOC process to review it, and it caused problems. Let me, wait a minute. Okay. I was getting an echo here, I wasn't sure why. Okay. Next step is contain the problem, means preventing nonconformances from reaching internal or external customers. For example, 100% inspection of suspected lots. However, containment is not corrective action. General Curtis LeMay, who ran the Army Air Force during the Second World War, said to stop swathing flies and go after the manure pile. It means that containment is swathing the flies, but you have to get rid of whatever it is that's attracting the flies, or you're going to keep having them. So you have to take corrective and preventive action to get rid of the root causes. Next slide. Identify the root causes. The occurrence root cause is why it happened. And again, there's a tie-in with FMEA because the prevention controls are supposed to stop it from happening at all. The escape root cause is related to inadequate detection controls. The systemic root cause, why the planning process did not anticipate it in advance. Why didn't we see this coming? Why didn't we see this coming in advance? Next slide. Test the corrective actions and make sure they work. And most CAPA failures are due to failure to verify effectiveness of the proposed solution. And this failure to verify shows up very frequently in FDA warning letters as well. So you have to make sure the proposed solution works. Next, implement the selective action. Newer improved prevention and detection controls should be reflected by changes in the FMEA and the control plan. Remember, everything has to be documented, and if you don't add the improvements to the control plan, they're probably not going to be permanent, and then we'll be having the same problems again. Next slide. Prevent recurrence. Share the lessons learned with similar processes and activities. This is known as best practice deployment. Henry Ford told us almost 100 years ago, the benefit of our experience cannot be thrown away, and failure to use lessons learned could be a systemic root cause of subsequent problems. Finally, recognize the team. Next slide. Example, I found an FDA warning letter that says the following: they had bioreactor runs rejected for contamination, calls into question the state of control of your process. Now, step one of CAPA is to become aware of the problem. So the first out of specification lot should have attracted attention and initiated the CAPA process. General Patton said something to the effect that about skunks, that if you don't kill the first skunk that shows up, more skunks will come and get in under the porch, and then you'll never get rid of them. I'm not exactly in favor of killing skunks because they're harmless unless you bother them, but that's basically the general idea. Same thing with seeing a termite in your house. You figure there's one, there's probably more of them, so you have to react to it or you'll have a real problem. So the first out of specification lot should have initiated the CAPA process. Okay, next slide. The FDA adds that 2 lots were out of specification due to the presence of particles and not adequately investigated. So again, if the particles don't belong there, that's a nonconformance or a defect. So you should initiate CAPA the first time this comes up. So the steps of the CAPA process should have asked what controls are in place to keep particulate contamination out of the product. Question, can chemical analysis of the particles identify what they are and therefore where they came from? By the way, none of this is formal engineering advice, but and also there's not really that much detailed information in the warning letter because of a lot of the material is confidential, but I can see from what is available that these questions should have probably been asked what controls are in place, and if there's no answer, then the next step is, yeah, we need controls. Okay, I mentioned the close tie-in between CAPA and FMEA. The handbook for FMEA cites 4 potential failure causes, which are familiar from the cause and effect diagram, and these are also mentioned by the FMEA handbook. So we're looking at man, machine, material, environment, method, and measurement. And these are the kinds of questions that we ask using those potential failure causes. Next question, next slide. Okay, in summary, the case study illustrates the basic takeaways from this presentation. First, plan for quality. I mentioned FMEA is essentially proactive CAPA. We anticipate what can go wrong and why it goes wrong, and we install controls to keep it from going wrong, or if it does go wrong, to detect it before it reaches the customer. So prevention controls seek to disable the occurrence root cause, while detection controls detect the problem before it can reach the next internal or external customer. Prevention is better than detection. The AIAG FMEA manual, they got rid of the risk priority number. If you're familiar with that, it's the product of 3 ordinal numbers and therefore not that good a metric of a risk, and replaced it with something called an action priority of low, medium, or high. And they also give much higher weight to the severity rating, followed by the occurrence rating, with the detection rating being last. So prevention is more important than detection under the new system, which makes sense. If we keep it from happening, then we don't have to worry about it. If it can happen, then we have to hope we detect it before it gets to a customer. And these all form part of the control plan for the process. Next slide. If quality planning does not anticipate a problem, perform corrective and preventive action to first become aware of the problem. If it happened once, it can happen again, and it probably will if we don't do anything to stop it. Remember, if you see one termite, that's cause to go looking for other termites and get rid of them before they cause damage. Identify the root causes. Remember, we're looking at 3 root causes: the occurrence root cause, escape, and systemic. Select, test, and implement corrective and preventive action to disable the root causes and make sure they're effective. Again, I've looked at some of these FDA warning letters, and verification or failure to verify effectiveness comes up very frequently. Deploy lessons learned and update the FMEA and control plan to reflect the new or improved controls. Next slide. Follow established processes and do not deviate from them. I think the warning letter I looked at said that they deviated from the process. Those processes are there for a reason. And the next item, management of change, is among the reason. Whenever we introduce new materials, equipment, methods, people, environments, or metrology, we're introducing new risks. And whenever you deviate from a process, you're doing at least one of those things. You're not using the standard materials, equipments, methods, and so on. So that's another reason to not deviate from established processes. Okay, next slide. Okay, that's everything I have, and thank you for listening.
Bill, fantastic presentation, walkthrough with steps, what to do. And most of all, we have to remember anything we touch with this particular industry is so important for patient safety. But what I want to say, we heard this multiple times, prevention versus correction. So if you're lucky, your company never got warning letters or 483s, you are in the right space, plan well, use the right tools, and prevent what could potentially be cited during the inspection. Now let's give the floor to Zev, and again, thank you, Bill. Wonderful presentation. We're looking forward to hear more. Zev.
Thank you, Lydia, and thank you very much, Bill. That was a very great presentation. I'm going to go over a case study with y'all using the GKS eLibrary platform. So let's get into it. So as Bill mentioned before, FMEA is a really big deal. The GKS eLibrary analysis chart highlights FMEA linked FDA citations in this picture from 2000 to 2025. While not as common as CAPA situations and citations, these violations remain significant, especially those tied to design and process risk. Top citations such as 21 USC 351 and 352, along with key 21 CFR 211 sections, often stem from weak and missing risk analysis. This uncovers that failure to implement and maintain robust FMEA processes can lead to lasting regulatory consequences. Properly executed FMEA is proactive CAPA. It is the first line of defense, especially for helping prevent recurring issues before they escalate into warning letters. Here you can see what's happening is that companies often receive warning letters due to inadequate process, poor validation, and weak quality management system, QMS systems, for example. In these cases, the FDA is effectively saying, you're getting this letter because ... At GKS, we can cross-map keywords to violation codes, for example, FMEA findings to underlying root causes, and we can link them between, like I said, the FDA violation codes. The quality system regulation QSR issues like insufficient risk controls and as such appear repeatedly across multiple situations in CFR sections. And the messaging here is clear. Treat FMEA as a living tool that evolves with every change, rather than a static compliance document. Properly leveraging it can help organizations prevent repeat violations and strengthen quality culture across the enterprise, especially within your facility. So here we have a real world example of a warning letter from March 2022. This highlights consequences of neglecting FMEA updates. In this case, Medellin Industries, they make design changes without revisiting their DFMEA and AFMEA, leading to reoccurring syringe failures and customer complaints. The FDA flagged this as a major oversight, underscoring that FMEA is not a one and done exercise. Every design and process change must trigger an FMEA review and update, not only to maintain compliance, but also to proactively identify and mitigate risk. Failing to do so allows critical hazards to go unaddressed and invites regulatory actions. And we can do this also for CAPA as well. So like the chart before, from 2000 to 2025, we see that CAPA related FDA citations with the highest volumes under statutory adulteration and misbranding sections, such as the 21 CFR Part 820 and 210. This data shows and makes it clear that CAPA deficiencies remain one of the most persistent compliance gaps. Despite issues, most companies fail to follow through with efficient corrective and preventive actions. This undermines that responding to problems isn't enough. You must close the gap with robust investigation through root causes analysis and documenting follow-up measures, which is very, very important.
Yeah.
We can also look at root cause. Sorry, we can also look at root causes via CAPA in this chart as well. Like last time, we can see that the keyword violations and also correlate to which CFR code. You can see, and the message here is clear, and you can see CAPA problems are not isolated. They ripple through entire quality systems. To prevent such systematic occurrences and repeat violations, CAPA must be integrated across all areas rather than treated as a standalone problem. We can also look at a warning letter as well. Oasis Medical Incorporated, July 2025, last month, to be honest with you. Their warning letter from the FDA highlights how CAPA failures can escalate into serious enforcement actions. The FDA identified repeated issues, including insufficient investigation, weak laboratory controls, and missing documentation. All signs of an insufficient and ineffective CAPA program. As a result, the agency mandated a comprehensive CAPA overhaul with stronger root cause analysis, trending, and executive oversight. This is a clear case, and it makes it clear that the FDA expects CAPA to be robust, documented, and verifiable. Anything less signals weak quality culture and systematic gaps, leading to direct enforcement actions from the FDA. And we can also look at another example here with root causes in a warning letter. This from Genzyme Corporation. And here we see that in January 2025, which is also known as Sanofi, the FDA found a 20% rejection rate in a bioreactor runs due to contamination and other quality failures, yet critical deviations weren't fully investigated. The investigation missed causes that were ignored, conflicting engineering data as well, and it also lacked clear documentation. This is a reminder that effective root cause analysis must be an evidence-based and deeply comprehensive and also transparent to withstand the FDA scrutiny. In summary, stay compliant and always be prepared. And with GKS e-library, you can see how the FDA looks at 483s and warning letters and how they produce these documentation over time with hotspot detection year by year changes, with also trends. For example, keyword here is data integrity. You can see the trends for the CFR codes, and also cross-map keyword violation, which is very helpful, especially when you want to understand which keywords mostly show up in certain CFR codes. So now I'm going to turn it over to the audience to ask any questions. All and any questions are open. We have ex-FDA expert Dan Barretto and also expert as well, Bill Levinson. So you can also type it in the chat, or you can see it out loud.
Thank you, Zev. Really good walk through different examples, great case studies, and thank you for pointing out for the keywords and tools that we're supposed to use. So yes, if we have any questions, we can answer from chat. Otherwise, any closing thoughts from Dan, Bill, anybody?
I just wanted to ask Seth a question because I think this is very important. And that is, when I go to the FDA website, I'm able to, if I'm looking for a warning letter, a specific warning letter, and I'm looking for the word CAPA, I do find the description of the issues associated with CAPA for that specific warning letter. However, if I use the GKS platform, can I just type CAPA in, and then the system, will it give me all the warning letters where CAPAs are cited?
Yes. So what at GKS, we've combined every single warning letter 43, every documentation that the FDA has released. And if you were to type in CAPA, every documentation, warning letter 43, any documentation that has CAPA in it, will also show up. And we are also currently working on a reporting-based system where anything that's also related strongly to CAPA will also be given in the report.
This is good. This is good to know because, you know, when we're looking at these issues, we're not looking not only at one company specific issue, but we want to see trends in the industry. So it seems like if we wanted to see those trends, and it goes to the graphs that you were showing, with the GKS platform, we should be able to see those trends.
Yes, trends are what make and break anything. Over time, we've seen, spikes in certain industries. So if I'm correct, if I'm between 2011 and 2011 and 2013, syringes and warning letters were off the charts. But nowadays, it's not as a hot topic. So with trends, you're able to see and understand what you need to be looking out for, and you can also see in the future, okay, this is happening in the industry. How can I make sure how can I prevent this in my own facility as well?
Great, thank you, Seth.
Yeah, Dan, and if I can add here, definitely to see those trends, it's not just a shortcut for us to project what's happening within the industry, but those trends, those keywords, those specific selected letters by the trends can be used not only by auditors in preparation for supplier audits or by inspection readiness group to prepare for various type of regulatory inspection. But most of all, I also want to emphasize it can be used by anybody to present to the leadership. Those KPIs, those key performance indicators, being in this industry, we always struggle last minute to put some meaningful graphs, but the trending analysis that is provided to us based on our selection can be used to present to leadership to bring more people, to establish additional processes to stay compliant. So just want to bring this. It's important to have the right tool and the right trending. Thank you, Dan. Thank you
That's
for bringing.
Awesome.
Your point is very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I think I'll read some questions out from the chat if now's a good time. So I guess I'll sort of start from the top for all the questions around how will this be distributed. We'll both send an email and post it publicly to our media page. And then I'd love to sort of get into Fred's questions. Severity, detectability, likelihood were mentioned. With respect to standalone CAPAs, is it necessary to incorporate these traits as most SOPs require classifying standalone CAPAs as low, medium, high? If not, can it lead to an observation/finding? I see Bill typed out his response, but if Dan or Bill want to comment on this further.
I think Bill can start and then I can supplement because I have not had the chance to see what he responded. So go ahead, Bill.
Okay, I typed a response. My understanding of this process is that where you're classifying the problem, the failure mode is low, medium, or high, happens in the FMEA portion where depending on, well, the severity is probably going to be the highest, 9 or 10, but then based on the occurrence and detection ratings, that's what gives you your action priority. Now, if you actually have a non-conformance or another problem, it's obvious that whatever those controls are didn't work, or you have a failure mode of which you were not aware previously, and that's where CAPA comes into play. But I did take a look at the CAPA manual, and it says it should describe the magnitude and frequency of the problem, or by implication, the impact, and therefore the priority in general. If you're having non-conformances with something regulated by the FDA, my position is that's going to be a very high priority until it's resolved.
Sure. Look, go ahead.
And then when you do resolve it, your CAPA should result in new prevention and detection controls. And when you implement those and verify their effectiveness, you then reassess the action priority, which will hopefully be reduced at that point to medium, or preferably low if they're really effective, and make it impossible for the problem to happen.
Yeah, I'll summarize what Bill just said also from a little bit of a high level. Keep in mind that the CAPA process is intended to do two important things, and that is either to eliminate a problem, or two, to reduce the potential for that problem to come back. Especially with medical devices, where you have a lot of variabilities involved when you have a bunch of components that you use, and there are variabilities that would not allow you to completely eliminate a problem. So obviously, your FMEA process is part of the investigation that you do, is part of your CAPA investigation. So you also have already done either PFMEA better or DFMEA work that you're going to use as a reference. So again, FMEA is a living process. So if you need to update your PFMEA process through your CAPA evaluation, do it as well. So I think that the answer is yes, as so long as there is an opportunity for you to use the tool to really make a more precise, a comprehensive evaluation, and to get to the best corrective or preventive action, just go ahead and do it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and if I can also add here, depends who you work for, who you work with. So for example, manufacturers, they quite often use CMOs, CDMOs. Please remember, each of those entities, they have their own quality management system. They have their own classification. So imagine you are contracting to CMO, and through the audit or inspection, you are entering in your own system, corrective and preventive action. Those are critical. You cross-reference the CMO, but their system is different. They might have this as medium or low. So you need to make sure when in cases when you contract out, you have all this spell out in your quality agreements, that in these cases, you have similar classification. So just want to bring this up. Thank you.
I have a question, if you don't mind, if we have time.
Absolutely. Cheryl.
Yeah, so yeah, just curious if you can provide some feedback, whoever can do this, how the GKS approach would differ from some other systems out there that GKS is similar to, you know, in terms of some differentiators and some advantages, if you wouldn't mind just kind of highlighting that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Cheryl, for the question. Just a couple of quick notes on exactly what we do, right? We not only are looking at this type of data and these documents, but we publish research and peer review, as well as make sure to monitor the landscape. So a lot of, I think, what Bill and Dan touched on today with CAPAs was around being prepared and monitoring for them prevention over remediation. So having understanding of where industry is going, what adverse events are being reported on in real time as we are seeing notices like this happen. These are what's critical for all of the professionals here on this call, right? Whether we're at an organization or a consultant, it doesn't really matter because we need to be prepared rather than remediating. Of course, you need to do the latter in situations, but that's the goal. So I think the platform pretty much speaks to that agenda and really goes above and beyond providing the tooling there beyond just documents.
Yeah, and
So it's more of a preventative type of approach, which is kind of what everybody was highlighting in this presentation. Is that right?
Yes,
In terms of tracking.
That in the most general sense, and then tool by tool, we publish and use the latest academic as well as industry standards and tech stacks in terms of knowledge graph tools and different ways of utilizing AI approaches to extracting, transforming data, things of this nature.
Yeah, I know AI is really very beneficial in terms of spotting trends and patterns way ahead of maybe even the human eye. So that's super beneficial. So glad to hear that AI is a component of the platform. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Cheryl. I'm actually speaking on transforming technologies and AI at the ASQ conference in about a week and a half. So that's the exact agenda.
very good. Thank you for bringing this up. I think if there's no more question at this time, I want to thank everybody for attending. And I think we have 2 more slides, Zeph, do we?
Yes, so thank you everybody for joining Warning Letter Wednesday. Stay tuned. GKS will be announcing and releasing our AI features in the coming weeks. So if you would like a sneak peek, feel free to message us. I'll put your email down in the chat, and we will have a demo for you, and so you can understand how we are helping y'all stay compliant, especially in this unprecedented times. And stay tuned to catch GKS at upcoming events. We will be at PDA Regulatory Conference in DC, and we will also be at ASQ Audit Division Conference in Reno, Nevada. Our next Warning Letter Wednesday will be on Zoom again, September 17th. The topic will be decoding FDA warning letters, keywords, analysis, and insights. And on October 1st, we will be at the ISPE Boston Product Show. We will have a booth, so look out for us. Thank you again, everybody, for joining, and have a great end of the summer, and have a happy September.
And Zeph, let me just thank one more time, applause to our presenters, and Bill included additional slides in the PowerPoint at the end of the presentation. Those are specific examples. So this is as part of the bonus. It would be sent to you as part of the presentation. Again, thank you, Global Key Solution, for hosting this webinar and for providing the connections and explanation how we can stay in touch. I want to invite everybody again to join us, and if you are in the city at the specific conference or webinars during the live events.
Thank you again, and y'all have a great day. Thank you. So far we
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.